Okay, this session is our flipped classroom session. Today, what we're going to talk about is some flipped classroom methodologies and design strategies. I'm going to give you a few easy, low-cost tips to increase your engagement and impact with your learning. And I'm going to show you how you can use customizable courseware in a flipped classroom approach. But if you are not yet a customizable courseware customer, don't worry about it. You'll be able to use what I give you today. It will apply to whatever training you are using. If you want to be a customizable courseware customer, go talk to the folks behind me. All right. Our audience here, who is an instructional designer and trainer? Most of you. Good, awesome. E-learning developers? We have a couple of you. Some of you wear both hats? Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of folks with eLearning Brothers that are teams of one. You are not alone. There are more of you than you know. I know sometimes you feel like that. It's like it's just you against this impossible wall of training. No, you are not alone. There are many of you. E-learning managers, awesome, awesome. Business managers, consultants, a couple of those, and students. All right, cool. Yes, by far most of you are instructional designers and trainers. Both you and the devs will be able to use what we have here. It's really about looking at what you already have in a different way. Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, as far as flipped learning goes, kind of give me an idea of where you're at in the world. Who is just kind of flip curious? Couple of you, yes, yes, yes. And you're already doing it, but you want to be flipping awesome. All right? About 3 or 4 of you. Who are my customizable courseware people here? Awesome, thank you. Thank you. All right, anybody else want to share what you're hoping to get out of this? Well, let's just go then. All right, everything in learning starts with your objective. It's either starting with your audience, and once you know your audience, it's starting with your objective. What behavior do you want to change? What results do you want to get? Where do you want to go from current state to desired state? So what is your objective? In flipped classroom, what we're looking at here is a blended learning approach that consists of self-directed e-learning along with instructor-led training, okay? And students complete their self-paced homework prior to a facilitated practice or projects where they are actually being coached or instructed and getting live feedback. So the idea of the flip, it comes from in traditional classroom. If you think about in elementary school, you would get a lesson from the instructor, you'd go home, and you would do your homework to prove that you learned it or reinforce your learning. Whoa. I go this way. There we go. Traditional classroom, you get your lesson, and then you go home, and you get your homework. Your homework is your practice feedback, reinforcement. You're doing that on your own, and then your instructor looks at what you did, and it's graded. In the flipped approach, what we're doing is recognizing the way people learn today, which is I go to YouTube, I read a book, I get something that I'm learning, and the best way to reinforce that is with a live person or with a group exercise or with something that is facilitated and or coached. So basically, again, we're just changing a bit about how we are purposefully thinking about what we're already doing. So what are some of the learning activities that you might use in a flipped approach? What kind of things might you do? Anybody? Yeah. Watch a video. Okay, anything else? Any ideas? Well, let's take a look at them. That is really annoying. Okay, you can do a webinar or watch a virtual classroom. You can do an e-learning scenario or a simulation. You can watch a video, thank you. You can do a game or some kind of an activity. You can do blogging or journaling. A lot of times having your learners writing about what they're thinking about, not only is that a great way for them to organize and reinforce their own thinking, but it's also a way when you read it to get an idea of where they are and where you want to take them. Workbooks, worksheets, they are not dead. With Customizable Courseware, it's one of the things we do is provide workbooks and worksheets with our learning. Because if nothing else, when you're giving a lot of information, asking your learners to take some time and think about it and do a little bit of writing, it's still a wonderful way to reinforce. Who was that Linda Berry this morning? Oh my gosh, my heart. I just love her so much. And the idea of using your hands to actually create learning, she's awesome. Podcasts can be an important part of your flipped experience. And then supplemental reading, white papers, case studies, these are all things that you probably already have in your organization, at least some of them. And if not, a lot of them are very easy, low bandwidth to make, and you can blend them up with your traditional e-learning and put them into a flipped approach. Okay, so where do you get these things? Where do you get them? What's that? You make them, that's right, because are you the team of one? No. Team of two. Yes, you make them, right, exactly. You possibly already own it somewhere. A lot of times, depending on what you're training, you have in your marketing team, you have marketing materials, you have white papers, you have things. Don't assume that your people are reading these unless you are spoon feeding them to them as part of a curriculum, okay? Curate it. You can go out to the web. TED Talks, we use those a lot in leadership and other things. There are many, many, many things that you can curate. And make sure that you get appropriate permission to use them. But a lot of the things are already out there, and for educational purposes, you can use them within your internal training. Make it. Or you can buy it, and obviously we can help with that one. Actually, we can help you with the make it too, because we have a whole ton of templates and things that help make your good stuff even better and take a lot of your time away. So the next thing you want to do is now you've got these things and you have an idea of the approach you want to do. The next thing you're going to do is set up a learning path so that you know what order you're going to give these pieces and parts, so that they tell a complete story, so that they take a learner in a logical way from point A to point B, and applying the good instructional design principles that you already know of giving somebody the information and then scaffolding to build on that so that you can take them on a learning journey. That's why we create a path, to take them on a learning journey, okay? One of the, this in the traditional lesson model, again, going back to the traditional classroom model, the PAF model. Present the lesson, apply the learning, give the feedback. In the flipped PAF, say that 3 times, in the flipped PAF. You're going to activate, reinforce, and then apply. You're going to activate with some form of self-work or instruction. You're going to reinforce it so that they can get some form of assimilation with the learning and get that aha moment, and then apply practice and feedback to make sure it sticks and to make sure that they don't veer off into a direction you didn't want them to go. In the Allen Interactions model, Dr. Allen, they use something similar. They use CCAF, which is they create the context, they set up a challenge, they do an activity, and then they offer feedback. This model also applies, CCAF applies to flipped classroom, because you can give the context and the challenge and the activities can all be remote or e-learning, and then providing the feedback. And you know what? If you're not all in the same place, just get in a virtual room and do the feedback as a group. Take the exercises that you would do normally in the classroom together and stop and think about, how can I do that using this other tool to get the same learning and outcome. So, all right, this is a group activity. Thomas, do you have the mic? All right, Thomas has the mic. What we need to do is come up with the order in which we would give these learnings. So what I have here is I have a stretch assignment where somebody's leading a coaching session with a direct report. I have a CEO video of her personal experience and value on coaching. The learning that we're trying to give is about coaching and feedback. It's part of our leadership program, okay? Journal entry, observations from the coaching session, a group debrief of the coaching assignment, e-learning on how to give appropriate feedback, and a one-on-one facilitated review of coaching feedback. Who'd like to tell me what order those should go in? Okay. Okay, you do the first one, good.
I think the CEO video is the first.
And why would you do that?
Because it sets the stage of, senior leadership involvement.
I love that. I love that. If you got senior leadership buy-in, that really is a great thing. Great way to start with the CEO video. What would come next?
The e-learning, how to give feedback.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that, Thomas.
E-learning.
Oh, the e-learning, okay. So now we're going to give the e-learning on how to give feedback. And why would you do the e-learning?
So once you create the value statement, actually giving them some instruction around how you would do that. So giving them some steps.
Perfect. Perfect. So we've set up the value of what we're doing, the what's in it for me, the WIFM, right? And now we're going to show them what they're going to need to do. We're going to give them the steps in the e-learning. Love that. Do we have another one before we move on? Just give me another guess of what you'd like to do next. Right here.
The stretch assignment. The
stretch assignment. Okay. And why would you do the stretch assignment next?
Because we've told them how important it is, we've told them how to do it, and now we want them to try it.
We've told them how important it is. We've told them, showed them how. Now we want to put it in practice. Awesome. You guys are awesome. I would expect that here at DevLearn, and you didn't let me down. Thank you. Whoops. There's a little dip in the stage there. That's awesome. You're going to edit that out of the video, aren't you? Maybe not. It's all Chris. So the order that, one suggested order, of course, there really is no real right or wrong, but the CEO video, nailed it. The e-learning, how to give feedback, nailed it. The stretch assignment, look at you all. Look at you. You rock stars, you. Why are you even here? You're already rock stars. The journal entry. Now we give them an opportunity to stop, think. What did they see? How did they feel about it? Okay, what happened? What could they have done better? Now they get a one-on-one to reinforce that. Let's take out that journal entry, and with their coach, let's look together and talk about what we saw, what we felt, what we did, how we can improve. And then a group debrief together. We are emerging leaders together. We are a group. We're going to support each other on this journey. Let's get these folks together and build that within our organization, right? Awesome. Great job. All right, let's look at an emerging leader blended learning program. This is a real case that I worked on in my past life. It was a 13-week blended learning experience to develop people managers, emerging leaders of people. And the way this used to be done was they used to bring all the leaders in for a 2-week experience. As a global company, they would fly them in, they would do a 2-week boot camp, and then they'd send them back to forget everything because the minute they walked back after being gone for 2 weeks, they were inundated. Okay. Not only was it extremely expensive and not as effective as it could have been, you had to be tagged as an emerging leader, and then you had to be put into a curriculum path. So it might be a year or two before you would get the opportunity that they were holding this, and if you were still in the company, they would send you to the program. And they said, stop the madness, there has to be a better way, right? So using a flipped blended learning approach, took this learning apart and made it a 13-week program with 3 virtual sessions, 11 weekly modules, and an on-site capstone seminar. This particular program informed me when we started working on customizable courseware, and it was part of the learning that we brought in to say how learning is really done in the field. It is done over time. Some of it is instructor-led, some of it is done as e-learning, some of it is done in a virtual classroom, some of it is done live. And this is sort of the model that we used when we developed the program. So how the virtual sessions were done, there was a large group introduction as an online. The participants would receive an email activation for that week. They would get their assignments, and they'd have an e-learning module, a curated reading, a video, something that they needed to do on their own. And then they would have some form of interactive exercise or game or social media interaction as reinforcement. And then there was an application, which was a little stretch assignment of sorts. Then when they came back after week 3 into the group session, that was when the coaching and the feedback took place, where things were reviewed. They would break into small virtual groups and talk about things. At the very end of the program, they had a 3-day capstone where folks would all come together and do the hands-on exercises and coaching as a group and cement their relationship within the organization as a peer group of emerging leaders. Our case study example number 2 is, now that we've been developing customizable courseware and we have modules, they're in e-learning and they're in instructor-led learning, we have some writing assignments, we have workbooks. We are now taking our TREC learning experience management system and we're breaking up CC4U, Customizable Courseware CC, into this same sort of approach. So if you look at our Griffin Hill sales system as an example, we've broken that down to an e-learning module, a video from the coach from Griffin Hill where he talks about, Dr. Scott Baird gives you the background and the reasoning behind the lesson and the science behind it. Then you get a writing exercise. There is an e-learning recap There's a quiz. There's actually, this is in development right now, there is actually even another exercise where you set your own high performance goals about your aha moments and how you're going to put this in practice in the field while you're selling. So again, taking what you already have, the e-learning that you already have, examine it, see how it breaks into logical modules and chunks. What can you put with it to reinforce it and blend it up and make it more interesting? Where can you put touch points, coaching points, writing assignments, things to boost what they're already doing, and then provide teachable moments and coach them, take them one-on-one, either virtually or in person, ideally by somebody who will be leading and coaching them out in the field on the job. So the idea is to take this away from we're learning here and we're applying here and make it part of a continuous learning continuum. I'm learning, I'm reinforcing, I'm reading, I'm getting coaching and feedback, and I am growing within the organization. And I am also at the same time developing myself as a lifelong learner within the organization. So we want to build those muscles by how we teach them to get the behaviors, not just in the subject that we're teaching them in, but in how we are presenting it to them, so that we're building this all together and growing them. One quick thing before you go. Customizable courseware, what it is. We have soft skills, we have sales process, we have safety training. They're in libraries of titles. We develop them in the 3 most popular learning tools, which are Captivate, Lectora, and Storyline. We develop also with them the ILT, the classroom slides, the classroom guides, fully customizable. We give you the source. So you can take it, chunk it up, blend it up, do whatever you want, however you want to teach it. The 15 professional soft skills courses in our professional soft skills library, here they are. We have the Griffin Hill Sales System, which is a complete sales curriculum based on science of selling. And we have a customizable courseware safety library, a growing customizable courseware safety library. If you are responsible for safety and compliance training and you would be interested in customizable courseware, we have 75 titles that are potentially in our work queue for safety training. Please let one of our sales consultants know which ones you would like to see if they are not already on this list. That feedback comes directly to me, and we have the opportunity to put that into our queue for you. Any questions, anybody?
One of the things that we end up defaulting to a lot is recorded live sessions, and then we push that out to people. Is that effective enough in flipping the classroom, or is it kind of lazy?
So the question was, we record our webinars and we push them out to our folks. Is that effective enough? You know, it really depends. What I can tell you is it's no less effective than any other form of video and training. If the webinar was well designed, and if the webinar speaks to the objectives that you need to teach in the field, then we do a lot of that actually ourselves, and we'll put out a webinar for eLearning Brothers, and we'll get a couple hundred people signed up on their lunch break to come in and watch a webinar, and they're taking something away from that. So is it effective enough? I don't know, because it really depends on what objective you're trying to hit, but is it effective in general? Yes. What I would encourage you to do is take a look at that webinar with fresh eyes and say, is all of this webinar, this 30-minute webinar, was the first 5 minutes of it, introductions and whatever, do I really want my people in the field? Do they need to sit through that? No, let's just chunk that out. Let's figure out how we can break up this webinar into chunks and give them something else with it to make their time, if I have a half hour with them and only a half hour, what is the most effective use of that half hour? And if you have time to do that, and if it's a high stakes learning and it has a long shelf life, spend that time to do that. If it is something needs to know right now, just push out the webinar and let them fast forward through it. Because they will, they'll skip. We're all watching videos, and anymore we're becoming, you know how people become speed readers over time? We're becoming speed watchers. We know how to fast forward a video and get to what we need. But great question, thank you.
I think one of the solutions that I've found to that exact problem is to add the resources, like the further learning that you want to be, you just put it in the same mail because you know they're going to open the video. So if you have then the other stuff that they need, then you kind of double down on that, and there's a bigger chance that they actually use it.
What a great idea. She says, when I send the email out with the link to the video, I'm also adding links to the supplemental resources that I know they need and that I want them to look at, because I already have their attention and say, I want you to learn this. This is important to our organization. Here are some other pieces to the puzzle. And yes, email is also an effective learning tool if they open it. But it is also an effective learning tool, yes.
What's your experience with curating content that's available on YouTube and other, freeware or share?
Thomas, I'm sorry, I can't understand the
For
question.
example, like content from the government, content from OSHA, things like that that are on YouTube or that are available on their websites, as far as curating that for your team, for utilization. What's your experience with that, as far as, do you use that at all, or do you prefer to develop everything?
Okay, do we use curated content from YouTube?
What's your experience with it? Is it worth doing?
What is our experience? Is it worth doing? Absolutely. That leadership program that I showed you earlier, it included a lot of curated YouTube content. The only thing that I would caveat with that is, depending on how you're going to use it and roll it out, get permission. Because there could be ramifications for using it. It's like really sticky, this whole idea of, am I using this for educational purposes if I am a for-profit organization? The line is not really super clear. Anything that is from a government organization or anything that says it is open source and available for use, I know that's why TED Talks are used so frequently, because the idea of TED is they want you to push it out. A lot of things say you can use this if you use it in its entirety and give us credit in our credits. Then at that point, is it effective? Well, does it apply to your learning? That's where your instructional design brain turns on. Does this reading apply to our learning? Does this e-learning apply to our learning? When you're evaluating off-the-shelf training to give to your people and you're looking at 3 different course possibilities, you're going to match the one that is the most appropriate to hit the objectives that you need to hit. It's no different from video. The video is the same thing. And then the other thing is, go to your own internal experts and turn on a camera and let them talk to people. You have people in your organization that are the exemplars, the one guy that if everybody would just do it like this guy, we could go here. Get that guy and get them to create some video and talk to folks for you. And so if he can't coach one-on-one with everybody, the next best thing is create your own video and let him coach. But YouTube video, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of really good content out there. There's a lot of really bad content out there. There's probably way more bad content out there than there is good content, but if you can sift the wheat from the chaff, there's some really excellent stuff out there. Anybody else? Okay, so do we have Zach?